long-awaited Phase 4 preview for Season of Discovery. Uploaded 23 hours ago, 111,000 views. On the official World of Warcraft channel, we have Clay. Give it to me, man. What's good? Phase 4. Give me all the info.
Hi, everyone. I'm Clay Stone, Associate Production Director of WoW Classic. Welcome to our Season of Discovery Phase 4 preview. It is time. At long last, we're raising the level cap to 60 and jumping into the endgame. For those of you who have been playing since launch, thank you for going on this journey with us. And to those of you just jumping in, now that the full level up experience is available, you've picked a great time to join us.
There is a lot of people that I've heard that wanted to play SoD, and the whole time they were just waiting for level 60. Like, they're like, oh, level 25 cap isn't for me, 40 cap, I'm just gonna wait till 60. Like, I think EzFan said that. Like, I'm just gonna wait till 60. So, like, Phase 4 could pop more than 2 or 3. We'll see.
I also want to give a massive shout out to everyone who has hopped into our first ever Season of Discovery PTR to help us test and tune all of the changes and additions coming to classes. Your feedback has been invaluable in helping us prepare for what's ahead. That said, even though the PTR was focused on classes, we know many of our eagle-eyed players saw hints at the content changes we're making to Endgame, and it's time for us to talk about some of those today. So,
some of them.
Let's take a look at what we'll be covering. We'll kick things off with content at 60.
Okay.
Then jump into raid information.
Okay.
Followed by some important itemization updates. Okay. Then dive into world event updates, as well as some system updates.
Great.
And more, which you're definitely going to want to stick around for.
Dope.
All right. So whether you're already familiar with classic era content, or you're experiencing it for the first time with Season of Discovery, or you just want a refresher, raising the level cap to 60 brings with it a ton of new content and things to do, including access to all WoW Classic zones, like the Burning Steppes, Eastern and Western Plaguelands, Silithus, and Winterspring. You'll also be able to finally max out your character talents. In addition, the Alterac Valley Battleground will also be unlocked. Epic mounts will be available to collect, and more.
So everything we'd expect.
All of the classic dungeons will now be available, including Scholomance, Stratholme, all 3 wings of Dire Maul, and Blackrock Spire. And because the bosses have stopped spending their time in Phase 3 socializing in the Grim Guzzler Tavern, the second half of the massive Blackrock Depths dungeon.
What?
In the Grim Guzzler Tavern, the second half of the massive Blackrock Depths dungeon.
What does that mean? What is, does anyone know what that means? Is that new content, or is he just saying you can do some of BRD? Because everything else is about what we'd expect. Is it like a joke? I'm confused. You can only do the first half. Oh, I see. So you can do the first half right now, but now you can do the second half. Okay, so it's not actually new. Okay. In the Grim Guzzler Tavern, the second half of the massive Blackrock Depths dungeon. In addition, there just might be one more dungeon surprise we're not going to talk about today, but we're excited for players to discover. Switching gears to a new dungeon. Okay, that's a W. Like, one of the things I've been thinking about Classic WoW, or Mythic, not SoD P4 a lot, and one of the things I think Classic Plus needs is new dungeons and new raids. Right? I mean, that's really, like, all of the other stuff kind of falls in the background because vanilla was so good anyway. But new dungeons and new raids and new quests and new experiences is what keeps people around. So you have vanilla, fine. You don't have to change much, really. People like it. We know that. 2019, biggest boom like ever in WoW history besides maybe the initial launch of the game. And then, you know, private servers, hardcore. Like, we see, people love vanilla. Don't have to do too much there. New content to vanilla is where you can spend the energy. Dungeons and raids. Just give the people some new content to play with, and it'll be a good time.
A quick note about runes. Since we've had the PTR up for the past few weeks, none of the runes are a complete secret. So we aren't going to be spending a lot of time in this presentation talking about runes or classes.
Fine.
However,
yeah, that's fair.
We will be posting a rundown of new runes and class adjustments separately from this video, so please check the official World of Warcraft forums for that. Moving on to raids. As we previously announced, the Molten Core raid will be scaled down to 20 players and will contain adjustments to the boss encounters across the 11 bosses for you to take on. Just gonna leave that there. We are very...
So they're gonna make it harder, presumably, and it's 20 players instead of 40. I think I like that it's not 40 players. 40 is just a lot. I don't mind that. And what I'm kind of nervous about is how they're going to appropriately scale these bosses. So Molten Core was obviously the easiest raid. You know, they want it to still be easy, but with all the new SoD talents and everyone doing way more damage and stuff, it feels like you're just going to kill the boss in like 4 seconds. It's like, okay, how are you going to scale it to make it hard, but not too hard, but not too easy? Like, that actually seems like a hard thing to land right in the middle on. So I'm curious how they do it.
Very excited for everyone to hop in and get their hands on the brand new revamped Tier 1 sets that now have multiple variants for different specializations and playstyles that each class has access to. Tier sets aren't the only place we've made improvements, with many non-set items also getting a hefty overhaul as well.
Cool.
Lastly, we are excited to announce that we will be having a scalable difficulty system in Molten Core, allowing players to turn up the heat inside and face ever-growing challenges. Some aspects of this system were visible on the PTR, and we've enjoyed listening to speculation and, most importantly, your comments and feedback around this new difficulty system and the potential reward structure. As we've been listening to this feedback, we've wanted to let you know that raising the heat level will not affect the quality of rewards. The quality will remain consistent as the difficulty goes up. Instead, it will increase the quantity of rewards.
So we had this discussion, like, what is the heat gonna do? You turn it up to a higher difficulty, what do you get, right? If you get better items, that gets real bad really fast, I think, in the vanilla landscape. If you get more items, and we already had this discussion like a month ago or a couple weeks ago, that might be pretty good because you do a harder difficulty and you just get more loot, which means you can gear up quicker. But if you don't want to do the lower difficulties, you're going to get that same loot. You're just going to gear up a bit slower. I think this is really smart. I like this. It gives the sweaty players a way to say, I did, you know, turn up the heat +3 on Molten Core and we got more loot because of it. But it's going to give the more casual players, they're going to be able to actually like clear the raid, and it's not going to be like so hard where they just like quit because it's just like too gatekeepy and like, well, what's your IO score and what's this and, you know, what's your link your achievements and like stuff like that. So hopefully this will work at least a little bit where it won't be as gatekeepy for players to just clear Molten Core, but at the top, like, you can still get together a really good group if you want to scale the difficulty, and you'll get rewarded for that in some meaningful way.
Making some of the more valuable drops in the raid appear more often. In general, we don't want to heavily gate the best quality gear behind high difficulty content in Season of Discovery, as we really just don't think that's what the season is about.
Right,
but
yeah.
If you do want to push yourself, you will find additional challenges and perhaps be able to gear up a tiny bit faster.
Right.
Onyxia's lair has also seen some significant loot overhauls as well. And while Onyxia has misplaced her stockpile of Tier 2 helms, she is going to have plenty of juicy loot for you to chase in its place. We are also taking a new approach for raid size with Onyxia, as she will ultimately be tuned to be completed with 20 players, but the allowable raid size is up to 40 players.
So exactly how it
we
was,
love 40 player raiding, but we think it ultimately works best as a soda and pretzels type of content. In other words, the same level of difficulty you come to expect from Classic. So, if you are forming a pickup group and want to ensure quick success, you can bring 40 players. But if you are running with your guild, 20 players may make more sense to maximize your rewards.
Love it. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. It's like, Classic WoW is not supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to have like Mythic Plus mechanics where if you stand in something, you're just insta-dead, or you do one thing wrong and it's a wipe for the group. Like, I think that's what they learned in Phase 3, is that vanilla players are playing vanilla because they like the social aspect and the atmosphere and the world and the liveliness of things and the RP and the social aspect. And it doesn't have to be like retail difficulty in terms of movement. It's like, yeah, let's have some fun. You know, and I think they're understanding that and they're making adjustments based on that, and I like that.
World bosses have had an interesting history in World of Warcraft, particularly in early versions of WoW, where they were hotly contested and created flashpoints for, let's say, interesting player interactions. While we love this intense competition in Classic 2019, one drawback to the content is that due to its limited availability, it tended to be content that most players never got to meaningfully interact with. We aim to make it a bit more accessible in Season of Discovery by instancing the content off and handling it similarly to what we just discussed with Onyxia. The raids will be tuned for 20, but can be done with up to 40 players to make it friendly to both organized groups and pickup groups. Related to these changes, and to talk all things loot,
I think that's a good thing. The downside is once you instance more things, the world feels less alive. You have less world PvP experiences, like world bosses up, their guild's trying to kill it, we want to get the tag, you know, like that did make the world feel alive. So I feel like there is like a bad aspect of that. The upside is it's going to give you more content to actually do and to raid, and more people will be able to clear, and more people will be able to get more loot, and it'll be like another thing to get people together and do. But the downside is, yeah, you're cutting the world off a little bit there. I don't know how I feel about that.
I'll turn it over to our lead engineer on Classic, Nora Valletta. Take it away, Nora.
Thanks, Clay. We're excited to share some of the cool new loot you'll find in Phase 4 of Season of Discovery. First, let's check out some of the new dungeon loot you'll find in Phase 4. We've got Iron Foe, which has had its level increased to 58 and now grants 18 attack power when equipped. Next, we've got Idol of Exsanguination, which causes your Lacerate ticks to energize you for 5 rage. Totem of the Plains reduces the cast time of your Healing Rain spell by 100%. Taking inspiration from players using the 3-piece set in Sunken Temple for Shamans, we thought it might feel bad to completely lose that set bonus as an option. Having it be a totem you can swap on and off for fights made a lot of sense here. Cool. Burst of Knowledge has had its item level increased to 58, its spell power increased, and its active cooldown reduced from 15 minutes down to 5 minutes.
That's insane.
Finally, we've got Libram of Holy Alacrity, which causes Holy Shock to reduce the cast time of your next 2 Holy Lights by 0.2 seconds. Our classic Tier 0 dungeon and Tier 0.5 dungeon upgrade sets have seen a full overhaul as well. In original WoW, a basic dungeon set of 8 items dropped in max level dungeons, and an epic quest chain was introduced in later patches to upgrade those items into a higher quality version of that set. In Season of Discovery, this is still true, but the upgrade quest chain will be available right at the launch of Phase 4, and each class is now able to choose between multiple dungeon upgrade set items that accommodate multiple class specializations as they move through the quest chain. While you
That's a lot of words, oh my goodness.
will have to choose which variation of each set you want during the quest line, the other variants will be obtainable via gold and other means once the quest chain is complete, so you will have access to every set for your class if you want to try them all.
Cool,
These
nice,
sets
that's
were
good.
testable on the PTR, and we've had a blast watching people get excited about both the new stats and appearances of these sets as well.
Yeah, they're pretty
But what
cool.
about raid loot? Here's a quick look at a few of the items from Molten Core. First up, we've got an awesome looking elemental shaman shield called Earth and Fire. Looks similar to the rank 14 PvP shield, but with a distinct new color variation. We've got Magmadar's right and left claw, which allow you to summon core hounds to aid you in combat. The 3 set bonus actually allows you to transform into Magmadar for a brief period of time. But how about Faithbringer, a 2-handed paladin weapon for healing? Or Key to the City, a caster staff from Onyxia. Finally, Obsidian Edgeblade, which has been changed from a +8 to 2-handed swords to a +3. We've added 1% crit with those stats and made it just a tad slower. Our dungeon sets won't be the only color variations you'll see in Phase 4. Here are some of the cool Tier 1 color variations we've got coming soon. Next, why don't we spend a few minutes talking about world events? The Blood Moon is not seeing any major adjustments for Phase 4 and will not be a vector for new items or player power, but it will continue to happen on its normal timer.
People might think this is an L. I actually like this. It's not necessary, but if you're bored and you want to go down to the Blood Moon, you might find some PvP there and kill some other people. It means that there's not going to be 400 or 500 people. It means there's probably going to be like 10 or 20 or 30, which in my opinion is more fun, because when you have like a bunch of 5-man, 4-man, 3-man skirmishes against each other, that's fun. When you have like 100 versus 100, like it just gets laggy, annoying. You end up just dying in one hit to like a bunch of AoE. It's just not fun anymore. But like if there's like 20, 30, 40 people in the Blood Moon, it's actually that's actually pretty fun, especially if you get a 5-man squad of friends together and you just go around slaying. So I actually like this.
We wanted to mention this because we are nearing level 60, which means that players will soon have access to the highest level PvP rewards, and many players will be ranking up to get them.
In
order to help with the honor gain process, we're introducing a new Blood Moon currency in Phase 4. When the new currency is introduced, Bloodstained commendations will have had their cost reduced from 1 silver coin to 25 copper coins.
I like this a lot.
We envision Blood Moon carrying on as an evergreen supplement to the normal PvP honor ranking process. If you'd like to interrupt your BG queues for a bit of quick, chaotic world PvP, my favorite, you and your group can venture into Stranglethorn Vale during the Blood Moon and supplement your honor farm.
Yes, I really like that. They're not like shoving it down your throat, but if you want to farm some extra honor, instead of queuing up AVs for like days on end, it's like, yeah, let's do a Blood Moon. Like it's the Blood Moon's up. Let's go do a Blood Moon and get some honor. If it's comparable honor or better honor, it's gonna be great. If the honor sucks, then that sucks. But like if the honor is pretty good, that'll be fun. That'll be really fun.
Next, we're making some significant adjustments to Nightmare Incursions, shifting the mission quests over to a simpler daily quest format. We really love the overall theming of Nightmare Incursions, but think these adjustments will help make them feel like an optional supplement to normal leveling, rather than the be-all, end-all leveling activity.
It should have always been that way. It should have always been that way.
All new characters. As a result of this format change, we are also planning to tone down the difficulty of some of the creatures within Nightmare Incursions to make these quests a bit more solo-friendly. The experience gained from these activities will cap out at level 53 as well, but the quests will remain available through level 60, should you desire to earn a reputation. Overall, we learned a lot of great lessons for Nightmare Incursions, which we plan on carrying forward for any potential.
Good way to say it. We learned some lessons. Like, everybody hated these. like, bro, these were so troll. I think this is a good fix. Like, you make them dailies. You get some good XP if you want to do them daily. You don't have to do them, but you know, it'll give you a little boosty boy to do them once per day. And then you go back to like actually leveling in the world. Like, what makes classic WoW fun is people outside in the world. That's why the world boss change might not be a good one. Right? When you see other players out in the world questing and running around, like, that makes for a fun game. If you see everyone in one spot doing the monotonous grind, that makes for a boring game, right? So yeah, I think this is good.
Future events. And speaking of future events, for Phase 4's outdoor event, we've taken a few of the lessons learned from previous events and are applying them to a new, more lightweight outdoor event, the Blackrock Eruption. This event will occur every 2 hours and see additional spawns, daily quest content, opportunities for reputation gain, and increased honor rewards from World PvP.
It's kind of nice.
Outside of Blackrock Mountain,
kind of cool.
The forces of the Fire Lord are wreaking havoc.
So, like, in theory, if you're playing SoD, you know, and you're grinding, it's like, okay, we have Blackrock Mountain in 30 minutes. Let's go hit up the event to get honor and to get, you know, our quests, our rep, and some leveling. And then, like, you do your Blackrock Eruption, and then, like, it's like, okay, well, let me go do my incursion dailies. And you do your incursion dailies, and then, like, Blood Moon's about to start. So then you go down to the Blood Moon and do that. And then, like, you hit up some quests and you log off. And, like, that was a fun variety of content to do for the day. And then tomorrow, you do that kind of same thing, except maybe you add in, like, a raid, or, like, you hit max level and you do some honor farming. So there's, like, a variety of stuff. I like that. I don't know about you guys, but I like that. When I log in, it's like, okay, we have Blackrock Eruption in 20 minutes. Like, it gives me something to look forward to and do on a timer, so that it feels like I should be there, and it gives me some incentive to actually be there, and the reward structure hopefully makes it so that I'm incentivized to do so. And then from there, it's like, okay, cool, let me go do some other stuff that aren't on these, like, time event timers that, you know, a little less rewards, but still level me up or give me some rep or honor or whatever. And then I can continue playing the game. So yeah, I think this is also really good.
Join the Thorium Brotherhood in repelling these attacks with new daily quests to help grow your reputation with the Thorium Brotherhood and earn quicker access to powerful crafting recipes and other rewards. Inside the mountain, you'll find your blood is running extra hot, causing you to gain bonus honor only within the mountain itself.
Cool.
As for reputation, we are adding brand new upgraded versions of the existing crafted rewards from Thorium Brotherhood, Argent Dawn, Timbermaw Hold, and Hydraxian Waterlords. We've also got some really cool for fun items that allow you to teleport to Azara, lay a fire resist area of effect that your allies can stand in, or turn you into a water elemental. You'll be able to place these for fun items on your keyring, saving you some valuable bag space.
Oh, that's
Anyways,
nice.
I've got some rep to farm, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass things off to our senior producer, Josh Greenfield, who'll be happy to share some of our upcoming systems updates.
Thanks, Nora. Going into Phase 4, we've made a few significant system updates we're excited to share.
Cool.
First up, we took a lot of the lessons we've learned from the Wild Offerings currency and have expanded on that system with a new deterministic currency we're calling Tarnished Undermine Reals. You can start earning these coins from most non-rare spawn dungeon bosses over level 55, and each boss will drop a single currency for each player in the group once per day per boss. This currency can be used to purchase a variety of things, such as rare crafting recipes, crafting materials, powerful gear, as well as a variety of other valuable items. We've gotten a lot of feedback from players asking for ways to keep dungeon content relevant longer, and this is one way we're looking at keeping dungeon runs feeling rewarding at level 60. We're also particularly excited about a brand new feature to World of Warcraft Classic.
I don't know how I feel about that. It's kind of nice. It's kind of nice because it's like, okay, well, you get to get some type of reward at the end of the dungeon. But then I think about like Kata. In Kata, you need to do the dungeons because you need your Valor points. And you have to kill the last boss to get your Valor. And you need the Valor because you want to get the epic loot or to get currency, like a lot of the same things as this. Materials, items, and more. Like this is basically getting your Valor every day or week or whatever. And I don't know, to me, Kata dungeons still get boring because there's no like scalable difficulty, there's no timer, like there's no, I don't know, they still get kind of boring. So I don't know, maybe this will help though. Maybe it's a step in the right direction. I just don't know if it's going to be like a foolproof fix. You know what I mean? Maybe it's better than nothing. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's better than nothing. Gives you some reason to do a dungeon sometimes if you want some rewards. So I guess it's a W. But it still makes me just feel like, well, it's kind of like farming Valor and Kata. Like once you do the same dungeons like 100 times, it's like, okay.
Valuable items. We've gotten a lot of feedback from players asking for ways to keep dungeon content relevant longer, and this is one way about a brand new feature to World of Warcraft Classic, a twice weekly raid lockout system. One bit of feedback we got early on was that 3-day lockouts on raids was difficult for guild leaders to manage due to the inconsistency of when reset days occurred. In Sunken Temple, we moved the lockout to weekly to add a bit more stability, but we always wanted to revisit this to see if there was a way for us to provide the increased cadence and content availability that the 3-day lockout provided, but with a bit more stability and predictability to help with better raid planning. The twice weekly lockout accomplishes this by having raids using this lockout interval reset twice a week on static reset days. For example, in North America, twice weekly raids will reset on Tuesday and Saturday mornings. We plan to use this lockout interval for all of the raids in Phase 4. We feel that with the pace of Season of Discovery, this is a great step forward to allow you to raid more if you choose to.
Wow. That's crazy. Trying to think if I like this. If you're a full-time SoD player, it's a W, I think. If you're a part-time SoD player, it's an L. So if you play a lot of SoD and you're looking forward to playing a ton of SoD, it's a W because you can raid like Thursday and like Saturday, you know, like for me as a streamer, I could raid on Mondays and like Wednesdays. So like 2 days a week, I can do more of the raids and that's really fun. Or if you want to do one raid one day, one raid another, you could raid like almost every day. Plus you have the Blackrock Mountain eruptions and honor farming. It just gives you a lot to do. It gives you a lot to do and handle. So if your major complaint of SoD was a lack of content, this is an answer to that. There's going to be a ton of content, many raids, many things to form groups for, many things to farm. Like you'll always have something to do. Now, if you're playing Phase 4 SoD as a part-time thing, like you're a retail guy, but you just want to play a little bit, or you don't get to play too much WoW, you only play on the weekends, this is maybe an L because it's like, man, how am I gonna raid 2, 3, 4 days a week and still keep up with Kata or retail or other versions of WoW you're playing? Or if you're working a full-time job, it's like, just in general, how am I gonna raid that much? So yeah, it kind of depends on the perspective, right? Kind of depends on the perspective. It'll give you a lot to do, but it's a bigger commitment as well. Someone linked a tweet and he said, never mind. I just posted something on the official forums, but just letting anyone know who's concerned about the twice weekly lockout to know we hear you. We're talking about it as a team. We'll have more info soon. Try not to panic too much. Ultimately, if this isn't something that we think that will work, we'll look into it. We aren't dug into it at all. Glad to hear the feedback. Try to keep it calm and civil. Man, I love Josh. What a great response. So basically he's saying, if you guys want this, we can do it. If you don't, we don't. The hard thing about that, Josh, is I think half the players are going to like this and half of the players aren't. So who do you listen to? Either way, you're going to piss people off. If you choose to do weekly lockouts, the hardcore players that want to play SoD all day are going to be like, dude, I have nothing to do, no content. And if you choose to do two lockouts per week, the more casual player base or the player base playing other versions of WoW are going to be like, dude, I don't have time for this. So you're going to piss people off either way. So that's where it gets tricky. It's like, who do you actually want to piss off here? I guess for me personally, I'm fine either way. I play a lot of WoW. I would like to do more raids. So if I was twice a week, it would be fine. If it was once a week lockouts, I could still do like kata raiding some days and then SoD raiding other days. So it doesn't really matter as much. I'm really curious. Sage says, I love the change. It gives people the option to play more gear faster, play more alts. I think this is very healthy. Yeah, I wonder what people think. Yeah, everybody, W's in the chat or L's in the chat for the twice weekly lockouts. Darn it, that's my point. That's exactly my point. It's split. So no matter what you do, you're pissing off half the people. That's a hard choice to make. I don't envy your position, Josh. It's a hard choice to make. When it's if you do once weekly lockout, you're pissing half the people off. If you do twice weekly lockout, you're pissing. Either way, you're pissing half the people off, man. No matter what, you're pissing half the people off. That's a hard choice to make. Hard choice to make.
At this point, we're approaching the home stretch, but we do have a few more updates to share before we close things out. With Phase 4 and the increase to level 60, players will begin having access to max level world buff effects. In Season of Discovery, we're also planning to add an alliance equivalent to War Chief.
You know, sorry to pause it again, but if a pull is 50-50, then you should keep the original way of doing things. Meaning once weekly lockouts. For a change to occur, it should take more than a 50-50 vote. Like old school RuneScape, if you want to change something, you need like a 70-30 vote, I think. Right? Agreed? Agreed? True? Yeah. If you want a change to occur, it needs to be a large majority of people, not a small majority. Like it needs to be overwhelming. If not, you want to keep things the same.
Chief's Blessing, the Might of Stormwind. As fun as it was to skulk around the crossroads on our Alliance characters, hoping for a kindly priest to mind control us
wait,
for
I want to see this again. Okay, what did we miss?
In Season of Discovery, we're also planning to add an Alliance equivalent to War Chief's Blessing,
oh, nice. Okay.
the Might of Stormwind.
That's good.
As fun as it was to skulk around the crossroads on our Alliance characters, hoping for a kindly priest to mind control us for a chance at War Chief's Blessing.
That's nice.
This should make getting your world buffs a bit less cumbersome for Alliance players. As with previous phases, Discoverer's Delight will continue to function from 50 to 59, providing a 50% experience boost in that level range. We've learned a lot of great lessons about leveling, and while we want you to level a little bit faster, there's a lot of content in the 50 to 60 range, and we don't want to totally trivialize the journey in Phase 4. So having a more nominal buff from 50 to 59 makes sense. Characters from 1 through 4.
I mean, that's it, man. It's classic WoW. Like half the journey, or more than half the journey, is leveling. I said it. That's classic WoW. The journey is leveling. When you hit max level, you clear the raids, and then people quit. That's just what we've seen throughout history. People hit max level, they clear the raids, and they quit, and they wait for more content. So don't speed through the leveling and have people quit sooner. Make the leveling slower, people will enjoy it, and then we'll quit later, right? It'll give them longer time to clear the content. And it's like, people always disagree with me on this and call me stupid. It's like, well, Zara, I have like 6 alts I want to level. It's like, well, too darn bad. It's vanilla WoW. Pick 1 or 2 and then play them and have fun with them. It takes a long time. That's the journey. If you want to level up 6 alts, go play retail or something. That's not this, right? It's like, I don't know. People always give me a hard time for this take, but like I still think it's the truth. It's like, dude, this is SoD vanilla. Like, bro, this is the journey of leveling is very important. And once you start trivializing that and undermining that, we have an incursion situation where everyone hits max level, does the raid, and quits in a day, and then the whole phase dies. It's like, no, you want it to take a while for people to level, enjoy the outworld, enjoy the quest, enjoy the journey, because that's really half the game or more. It's like, that's maybe like 70% of the game. When you hit max level, it's like, okay, we'll do some raids and get some prebis, and then people will quit.
49 will still enjoy 150% experience increase as well, so it should be super easy to get those alts caught up. Like previous level up raids, Sunken Temple will give a generous amount of XP, so running that while you're leveling could give you a good bump as well.
Cool.
In Phase 4, we plan to allow blacksmiths and leatherworkers to swap their profession specs for a nominal cost. This will not quite be ready for the launch of Phase 4, but we do plan to introduce it a short time later. Perhaps most excitingly, we've done major overhauls to many iconic in-game crafting recipes, with dozens of recipes replaced or given a method to upgrade into even better versions of their original crafted items. First up, we've got the refined Hammer of the Titans, a two-handed mace with 2.0 speed that has a very hefty amount of feral attack power. It also retains its classic 3-second stun proc, which will now proc in druid forms. And who could forget the iconic Arcanite Reaper, newly upgraded and refined into a 4.0 speed powerhouse with improved stats and a very fancy new classicified glow. These are just 2 examples out of many iconic crafting recipes to receive major glow ups in Phase 4, so get out there and get crafting. Looking to the raid release schedule, in a departure from previous phases, we've decided to space out the unlock of raid content following launch. Azergos and Kazakh will go live 1 week after launch, with Molten Core and Onyxia the week after that. Phase 4 is going to have a ton of compelling things to do right at 60, with a lot of new and improved loot to chase. We think that this pre-raid gearing phase is one of the best parts about hitting level 60 on a fresh character, and giving that pre-raid best-in-slot process a bit of time to breathe and giving you some worthwhile goals to accomplish ahead of the raids becoming available is very exciting. Should provide you with a lot of great, satisfying gear progression leading up to those raids becoming available. With that, we are done with today's presentation.
Completely fine.
We appreciate your patience as we're working diligently to get Phase 4 into your hands. We really appreciate all of the participation in our recent PTR releases, and we continue to consume your feedback as we're finishing things up for Phase 4. As always, the WoW Classic development team is incredibly grateful for your support. Thank you for playing with us, and thank you for your feedback and participating and helping us develop this season. We'll see you again when Season of Discovery Phase 4 goes live on July 11th, 2024.
July 11th, boys. Okay, after watching this, I think it's a W. Overall, it's a W, and I'm very excited. I can't wait to hop in. It's 2 weeks away, so we'll be doing 2 weeks of like Kata and Variety, and then we'll be hopping into Phase 4 like hard. I can't wait. I'm very excited. There's some stuff in the video that I'm a little hesitant about. 2 things. One, the instanced world bosses. I don't know if this is a W or an L. I think there's some good and some bad. And then the second thing is the twice weekly raid lockout. Once again, I think there's some good and some bad. I think the new raid lockout could still probably just be once a week. I don't know if it needs to be twice. And then the world bosses, like I said, there is some upside to it, but there is also some downside and like ruining the liveliness of the world. Counter argument to that, just to play devil's advocate to my own point, we have other stuff that keeps the world lively. We have Blood Moon to farm honor, and we have Blackrock Eruption to keep the world lively. So maybe it is a good thing that these are now instants to give players more raid bosses, since the world is already very lively. We'll see how it plays out. Regardless, I think it's a massive W, and I'm very excited about it.